So I'm listening to a song, Forever Young. What does Forever Young mean? Forever Young means you're healthy. Forever Young means you're healthy. So he wants to be healthy. Healthy. Do you know the words healthy? Shouldn't I be healthy? I should be incredibly healthy. Here's my friend Jimmy's building where he used to live over here. It's a nice building. Haven't been seeing him in a long time. But the video down here, this is the other side of Chicago Avenue, west of Chicago Avenue. And it is south of Chicago Avenue. And it is west of Orleans. So west of Orleans, south of Chicago. And you can see how this is all developed. Nice little sushi bar and nail bar and everything. But if you go on the opposite side of Chicago Avenue, which I pointed out, you have the projects which they closed down and they did the movie Candyman at in Chicago. And so it's totally different. And then you have a Premier Health Club up here. The East Bank Club is right here. So it's night and day. You go north of Chicago Avenue. Between Orleans is the street running along, north and south. It's running parallel to the street I'm on right now. Chicago runs east and west. And here's the East Bank Club up here. And so you got extremely high end. And then on the other side, they haven't developed it. It's like the other side in that area I showed you around the projects where Candyman is, they haven't developed. But this side they developed, and then if you go further down, they've developed it somewhat, but they still have a lot of area by Division and Halstead and that right around there that they haven't really developed. So this is the East Bank Club. It's a whole health club. I had a lot of friends that were members here at the East Bank Club. My friend C used to be a membership manager here, C. Sanchez. And then Rocky was a member. I've never been a member. My friend Dennis a member. My friend Bill a member. Many friends. So it's the EBC, East Bank Club. But they don't have any others. So they've never made another East Bank Club. It's unique to Chicago. My friend John Sr.'s father was an engineer, and he used to come down, leave his house at 4 in the morning, every Monday through Friday, 4 in the morning. He'd drive down because he left at 4 in the morning, take him less than an hour from Deerfield, and he would get to the East Bank Club, work out from, say, 5 in the morning to 6 in the morning, truly for an hour, and then he would shower, and he'd be out of there by 6:30, in his office by 7 in the morning. And he did that, I don't know, 40 years, 50. I mean, East Bank's been around a long time, so I don't know when he joined it, but basically that was his routine of his life for 40 or 50 years. And the seniors, Mr. and Mrs. Senior, were really good to me. Good people. But anyways, so you go over this way, and you go into Hubbard Street and all this. So this goes into, on the other side of Wells, you get into the nightclub district. Nightclubs, hotels. They have a pizza barcade. So I've been in here before with Matt, and we were discussing things about the family business. But what's it called? Highline Bar. And so it's been here for a while, Highline Bar. But these are all the bars down here. And so it's not too far off from where I talked. And then right down the street is the new casino and that. And then you have all these truly restaurants, bars, hotels, entertainment district, you would say this is. But then you have a lot of law firms and, businesses. So you have PNC Bank over here. And then right over there, you have Chase Bank, and then you have the Kenzie Hotel, and then there was back there the Kenzie Street Steakhouse, which I don't know if it's anymore. And this used to be Sugar, right here. This was Sugar. This has been closed for a long time. But this is a bar. It looks like somebody's starting to gut it finally. But it was called Sugar. My friend Dominic and Michael owned it. Or Dominic and Michael were, I think Michael was the main owner and Dominic was a small investor. But here's the Chase I told you about. So you got PNC, you got Chase, and then you have, I think that's Shapiro's or something. I don't know. I can't see the rest of the letters. But you have Kenzie Street, and then you have Hubbard Street. Hubbard Street's more of the nightclub and everything else. Kenzie Street, they have some entertainment, some, bar, restaurants, but mostly hotels and mostly bar restaurants, where you have RPM Steakhouse over here right next to Chase. And so this is kind of Harry Carey's on the corner. So these are bar restaurants here. Those are more the Dueling Piano Bar, more of the nightclubs on Hubbard. This is the more sophisticated side. Sierra Tavern. This is the more sophisticated side. The Parlor. And then it goes right into that parking garage with all that color. That's the Trump Hotel. But do you see anything that says Trump Hotel? Nothing there that lets you know it's the Trump Hotel. But that parking garage is the Trump Hotel. So we'll go down towards the Trump Hotel. So you got people that don't, I guess it doesn't matter. And they do whatever they want here. It's the Wild Wild West in Chicago. And this was where IBM was. Now this is where the American Medical Association. And so if we go straight, we're going to go under the Trump Hotel, basically. And this is Lower Wacker Drive. So the Trump Hotel is above us, but right here, this is an entrance for the Trump Hotel, I would assume. So it's a loading dock and entrance for the Trump Hotel. So as we move down here, and this is the underground, Wacker Drive and all that's above. This is Lower Wacker, they would say. This is the lower level. So we got North Water Street, and then you can see the building here, and you have a little space, and then there's the river. There's a river. So you walk here, there's a river. And there's the water taxi. Let me show you the place for the water taxi pickup. Here's the water taxi pickup right here. See that? This is water taxi. And I used to know the guys that did the water taxi service. They used to come to the Chinese Chamber of Commerce all the time because there's a water taxi stop right there by the Chinese Chamber. Here, as we go underground, you can take this. So we just keep on going straight down Kenzie, and you see the sign here for Navy Pier. And so we're merging out on the other side, but we're also on the run into the University of Chicago, the Gleacher Center and that. And here's Tribune Tower Residence. So see the sign right there? Let's stop. Tribune Tower Residence. And so this is the parking garage and everything for the residents. Oh yeah, my car needs some gas. But we're down here, and this is all the entrances for different parking garages. So I don't know if they're doing a building here or what they're doing. This was a parking lot, and now I don't know if they're going to do a development. But let me go straight. I used to go to the University of Chicago, and here is NBC Towers right here. And they have the peacock with the colors. And again, do you think of something? The Rainbow Push Coalition. Look at the peacock colors. And then you have the Gay Pride flag. It's interesting. So I wonder if it's NBC, and it is NBC, that have those colors. So I wonder if that color is, that whole thing is, it's an NBC logo, and it's to them, right? And I don't know if they're infringing on the color pattern. But again, those are flags, and that's a peacock, but they can put the peacock on a flag, truly. And have NBC, and then you have the peacock in the center, and then it would say NBC was somehow doing it, and it would be a flag. And they could fly the NBC flag. More parking garages entrance down here. But the funny thing is, no one tells you all the parking garages are down here. Truly. No one tells you all the parking garages are down here. All these entrances for the parking garages, you never know. Truly. Unless somehow, but they don't tell you that all these entrances, all these are parking garages, and they're all down here. Like here. We're going to come up here on North Pier. Now, do you see anything that says parking garages? And there's the river. So let's go straight. And it's a nice view across the river. The hotels are right over there. But let's go straight a little bit. And there's a little speed bump. And you'll see where we come into. But there's nothing talking about parking garage. All these residents right here, they have parking in their, their buildings, but they also have parking right up the street for guests and that if they don't have space in the building. So there's 400 Lakeshore Drive, so there's a development right here. 400 Lakeshore Drive. So there's a new development. Let's see who's developing it, since I'm curious. That says Navy Pier that way. So we have LR Contractors and BOA Construction. And this is a lakeshore developed by Related. And so they're developing a project here. And so it's an add more to this area. So, but also it's going to add more traffic. Yes, more traffic. And so it's an add more residents, and that residence is an add more traffic. So there is going to be more traffic on the streets. There's going to be more power demand through the electrical grid, more use of the sewer system, more use of the gas lines and everything. So what is the capacity on the gas lines? Truly. What is the capacity on the electrical lines? What is the capacity on sewage lines? What is the capacity on the city water lines? Truly, what is the capacity? Because remember, flooding. So you build these buildings, they dump in all the flooding from the sinks and the showers and everything else that is going into the sewer system. And now you have to average in rainfalls. So you want to know, is a new structure, is there enough sewer capacity? But they never do these projects and say, is there enough sewer capacity? And we're talking about moving waste product. So is there enough? And here's North Pier. And I used to work here, and this was Baja Beach Club, and the back windows in that right here on North Pier. The guy redid it, and he lived upstairs. He was an older gentleman, and he lived upstairs. Now it's Target. It used to be a grocery store. But before that, it was a nightclub. And all these places used to be parking lots. Not buildings, parking lots. These buildings didn't exist. These were all parking lots. This wasn't a parking lot. This was the tactical unit for the Chicago police. Right here was the tactical unit. This was a city building and city property. And I don't know if they sold it off or leased it off, but this was owned by the city of Chicago. This was a big building for offices for the city of Chicago right here. And they turned this into a residential building. And it's right down the street. So all these people feed into Navy Pier, but I don't know if Navy Pier has season passes. Truly, why doesn't Navy Pier have passes? And you can buy a season pass to Navy Pier. And what's good about having passes? Because they have to give IDs and everything, and you know the capacity of the pier at any time. So again, having passes, and they don't have to be expensive, but a few bucks to go on Navy Pier, and with the passes, you get to know what the volume is on the pier. You get to record all that volume. You could put turnstile in to record people coming and going, but in a panic, turnstiles and revolving doors cause problems. Revolving doors in a panic causes a problem. So in a panic, that's why they usually have an emergency exit to the right or left of a revolving door. With turnstiles, just like in the subway, in a panic, those things have to open up. Those bars have to be removed. So they have to open up. A door has to open. The turnstile, the revolving bars have to go away so people can get out quickly. But they don't think about that on the subway. Maybe they have a right or left entrance door to the turnstile. Maybe they do. Maybe they thought about it. But the whole point is people need to get out quickly sometimes, and that can cause congestion. So we're down here, and you can see all the fog. So we get the differential. Remember, land cools and warms faster than the water. So you get this temperature differential, and the temperature differential causes the fog. Actually causes the fog. The water warms and cools slower than the land. And so we talked about airflow before. So anyways, high pressure, low pressure, right? So where it's warmer, you have high pressure, and where it's colder, you have low pressure. And so you have wind flow moving from high pressure to low pressure. Or I should say from low pressure to high pressure. Anyways, high pressure expands the air, low pressure contracts the air. So you have expansion and contraction, and that causes wind flow. But anyways, so I'm down here, so you get all the fog. But again, they should charge for the pier. And this way people have to give IDs. And you get to see that where they come from. Like, are they from South Korea? Because they have to show a passport. Truly, they have to show their passport. And so you get to know if you have people from Germany, South Korea, France. And now Navy Pier knows the demographics going on the pier because they have to buy a ticket. And with that ticket, you have to have an ID. And they can print your picture on the ticket. Printing your picture on the ticket. How many tickets do they print your picture? But the Chicago Bulls, like for the season ticket holders, their ticket should have their picture on it. And anyone online that buys it now, they put the ticket, the picture in. Truly, when they generate the ticket for them on the phone, you can have your phone with the ticket, but it has your picture. And it also shows that you showed your ID. And so it verified the picture on the ID to the picture here, and then they take the picture on the ticket and they match it to your face when you come in. Facial recognition. It looking at the ticket, one camera, and the other's looking at your face, and it matches the picture on the ticket to the picture on your face. But they charge just some couple bucks. You don't make it expensive. So if you have a family of 5, it's $2 per person. It's $10. It's no big deal, but that'll generate a lot of money for Navy Pier. A lot of money. And plus, they'll get all the demographic information, and also they can run all the criminal background checks and everything too, making Navy Pier safer. And that means anyone going on the boats or any of the boat rides, they have to all be verified, because you have to have a ticket on the boat rides. So anyone taking the boat rides, and they get the demographics, but they have to do the security checks. Again, this makes it very bad for bad people. Bad people. Makes it no fun for bad people. Truly, it makes it no fun for bad people. No fun, because you can't go anywhere if you're a bad person. Truly, you get limited options. So, like, they kicked me out of 50 places. Okay. So, you get limited options. Limited options. But some reason I mentioned blacklisting at Excalibur and that, and then I mentioned how they do it at the casinos in Vegas and that. And some reason now everybody wants to kick me out of places. And I don't do anything wrong, but they constantly blacklist me. Wow. Like my favorite TV show was The Blacklist at the time. But we're down here, the Sheraton Hotel and that. So it's safe. You don't get the gunmen in the room because they're verifying the ID. You know that shooting in Vegas and that? Well, if you're checking the validity of the ID and you can check it against the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, you can check the passport against the passport system with the pictures that are in the passport system. See, the thing is, when they look at your passport, they don't verify it back to the system. But the system has all your original passports. So all those people using fake passports and changing the picture, it would never work because their information isn't in the passport system. Their information is not in the passport system. Their pictures are not in the passport system. But all they look at is the ID. You know, the passport. They don't visually, you take an image of the passport and it goes into the database and it matches it through the database. It runs the picture and the passport numbers through the database, verifying the passport. And they're like, this person doesn't exist. This person doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. But the reason you have these people coming in and the Jackal and all these people using, because they don't verify it through the system, like state ID cards and that. And now you can verify the picture on the car and all the information and make sure it's all valid. So we're right by the Gleacher Center. They can expand. There's all this space right here. Truly, right here, right next to the Gleacher Center. University of Chicago could expand. Could expand. They have space right here. Now they have something here that says United Rentals, but they could expand. Now this is a nice little courtyard, Tribune Towers and so on. But they could expand the Bleacher Center, increase its capacity. I would assume the University of Chicago wants to grow, and they do have room, so they could build it over the courtyard. The courtyard doesn't have to go away. They have stilts right here, and they would just extend it out over the courtyard and then go vertical. So, I mean, there's ways to do it, and they're right here in the Chicago River. And the dining hall, they didn't have a meal plan for me. University of Chicago. I come down here. I'm a student at the Bleacher Center at the Graham School. There's the Graham School logo. They didn't have a meal plan. There's a cafe right here. No meal plan. And they didn't, I didn't get any tickets to any University of Chicago basketball games or any athletic events. Truly. And then I didn't get recreation. There's no gym in here. There's no exercise facility for the graduate students in that. No exercise facility. Why isn't there an exercise facility here? And again, why couldn't I go to University of Chicago basketball games or football games? Why aren't they getting grad students going to football games and PhD students and that going to football and basketball and volleyball and creating a true atmosphere, a campus atmosphere for graduate students? We had a bar in Tucson, not Hutch's, but another bar that was basically all graduate students. And they try to create a little bit of atmosphere, but they didn't do it well at the University of Arizona either. The graduate students were not weren't sold the football tickets, the basketball tickets, and all that. And University of Chicago has a larger graduate population than they have undergraduate population, I think. They have more graduate students than undergraduate students. Maybe I thought it was like that, but anyways, they have a lot of graduate students and PhD students. And then they have all these Graham School certifications, and then they have a designation that's out of the University of Chicago that I was going to get for financial planning. And truly, it was a good designation, and you get it at the University of Chicago for a financial planner like myself. And I was going to go to the program. It's just a little bit expensive. That's why I was waiting to get a little bit more money, and then I would have done the program. But here's the Sheraton Hotel. Then you got the Lowe's Hotel right next to it. But down here, you got Northwestern. Simon, my friend, he never went to any Northwestern basketball games. He never went to any Northwestern football games. He teaches at Feinberg. None of the medical students, none of the law students go to the basketball games in Evanston. Go to the football games in Evanston. None of the PhD students. I went to Northwestern's continuing education program where I did the CFP. And again, I didn't get a meal plan. I didn't get tickets to go. Truly, I was a student. I didn't get tickets to go to Northwestern Wildcat basketball games or Wildcat football games. I would have loved it. And I would have sat in the section for graduate students or, adult students. And you have a student section in that you have undergrad, graduate, PhD, continuing education, and then professional teachers. Teachers can have their own section. And so you have staff here. How many staff at Northwestern here, downtown, at the law school? The staff, not the teachers, the staff. Staff. How many of them go to Northwestern basketball games? How many of them go to Northwestern football games? Like I told you, that stadium they're building is way too small. Way too small. Way too small. 25,000 people. Way too small. And So we have all these. Simon never went to any of those events. None of the medical students go to. What do you think that causes for graduate school alumni? It really creates a very weak alumni. The undergraduate environment alumni tends to be much stronger, as I did with the University of Arizona here in Chicago, was much stronger. Truly. The undergraduate and Michigan and all the undergraduates alumni programs tend to be very strong. But the graduate alumni programs, and I'm a graduate of Northwestern's continuing education, adult education. I got my CFP education at Northwestern. Alumni of that program, but do they invite me back? No, they have no alumni events. 0 alumni events. And they never send me anything about tickets to go to Northwestern's games. I'm an official alumni of University of Chicago, but I called the adult continuing education. I got my CFP there. I had to take numerous courses and so on. And then I've taken other courses at Northwestern, but they said no. I said, well, at University of Chicago, I'm considered an alumni, graduating from their program. Why aren't I considered an alumni of Northwestern University? And I was arguing with them. I said, if I'm an alumni of the University of Chicago, I'm an alumni of Northwestern. But again, here's Northwestern Hospital. How many of these go up to Evanston and go to the games? How much of the staff gets tickets? Truly, the people that work for Northwestern. Why aren't they showing up to the football games and getting involved? That's about creating, employee morale. And they go to games and they can sit in the same section, like, the staff from Feinberg, and they can sit together, they know each other. And so even if you don't have any friends, you're a staff member here and you know the people that work at Feinberg with you, and so you sit in the employee section, the staff section. Truly, the staff section. Here's a tailgater. I think they should put him in jail. Oh, Northwestern Law School. And then they do what they do in Singapore. They cane him. So here's Northwestern, right? They have adult graduate courses here. Graduate students, besides Feinberg. None of these students going here, when I went here, and this is outside of the CFP, the continuing education, this was formal education. I was a student at large at Northwestern. Student at large. Truly, I took courses as student at large. So did I do that at Loyola, a student at large. And, it looks like he's a little scumbag. So, garbage in, garbage out, right? So, anyways, that was the tailgater I'm talking about. So, here it says Northwestern. Right there. And you have all these students and graduate and continuing education and all that. I don't get a meal plan. Why don't graduate students get a meal plan? Why don't continuing education students get a meal plan? And why wasn't I ever talked about getting Northwestern gear? Truly, like the bookstore, like at the University of Chicago, the Graham School has it at the Gleacher Center too, and there's the bookstore and you can buy stuff and it says Graham School. But I was never introduced to it, and I'm in the program, so shouldn't I be getting stuff from the bookstore? Like, these shirts, and it says I'm in the University of Chicago, financial, whatever my certification, I forget. But it should have named it. Here's Northwestern Medicine. There's security. But does he go to any basketball games, or is it a she? I don't know. But they should be getting tickets. They should be offered tickets. They have to pay for them. But they're offered them as an employee incentive to go to the basketball games. Come down. Enjoy Evanston. Truly, all that traffic would go up to Evanston and go to the new stadium. And it would help pay for the new football stadium. And they can have soccer at the new football stadium. Truly, soccer. They can have lacrosse. So I think they can have some big, the stadium is not just for football. It's for other athletic. And so they can have tickets and people can go. But they don't do that. They're graduate students, and then they don't send anything to the alumni. They can have a undergraduate alumni section, graduate alumni section, PhD alumni section. Truly. Because people want to be around the people they know. And they can have mixers for PhD students and graduate students, and then a three-way mixer for undergraduate, graduate, and PhD students. A mixer. But at the football game, you want to sit. At the basketball game, you want to sit. Or you're going to the volleyball game, and you want to sit with people you know or in the same program. Why? Because you can talk to them. Because I'm in the PhD program, you're in the PhD program. We have something in common. Minimum, we can talk about the PhD program. I'm in the PhD program for finance. Oh, I'm in the medical PhD program. Medical administration. PhD, getting a PhD in medical administration. And you're sitting next to somebody. You have something in common. Oh, medical administration. How do you like that program? And so on and so forth. And how did you end up in that program? Shirley Ann Riley. This should be affiliated with Northwestern and Children's, right? They do adults and children. And they're right near Northwestern and the Prentice Hospital for Women. So you think they would be affiliated with them, right? So again, I don't understand how they're doing this, but again, and all these places like Timothy O'Toole's. How about the graduate students here at Gleacher Center and all the schools and hanging out from medical school and that? They have pool tables downstairs. It's a good place. I used to hang out there all the time at Timothy O'Toole's. But they can solicit them and talk to Campus Life for Northwestern, for Campus Life for undergraduates, graduates, PhD students, residents too, law school students, right? And other graduate programs. Law school is a graduate program, but there's also should be a PhD program for law. Truly, a PhD program for law. So you can get your graduate and then you get your law degree, but you can go for your PhD in law. There should be a PhD program for law. So it's the same thing with doctors. You get your residency, but you can go for a PhD in your profession. You're a general practitioner, and you get now your residency, now you're practicing, but you can get also a PhD because med school is a graduate school, right? And then you get your residency, which is your application. I don't know if you would call it a PhD program, but you could call residency a pseudo PhD program. But I'm talking about for people who graduate from residency to get a PhD in there. And that's really what it is. Residency is an internship. Residency isn't a PhD program. You went to medical school, you graduated from medical school. Medical school is a graduate program. It's a master's degree in medicine. A master's degree in medicine. That's what it is. And so you get your master's degree in medicine and then you apply to medical residency programs. That's your internship. All a residency program is an internship. That's it. It's an internship. And so you get your internship, and then you have to pass your residency. You have to, like anything, you get an internship, and you have to qualify And if you fail the internship, well, then you don't become a doctor. Just like you fail graduate school, medicine, graduate degree in medicine, you don't go to residency. You don't get the internship that puts you in. And once you do residency, you still have to take your boards. You're not a doctor until you take your medical boards. You could pass residency and fail your medical boards. So you're not a doctor until you pass your medical boards. But once you pass them, then you could go to a PhD program in your profession, like your dermatology. And they would go back and Simon could teach a PhD course in dermatology. Those are people that are already dermatologists and they're coming back to specialize in a particular type and they want their PhD in this particular type of dermatology. This will help the medical field, the law field. You want your legal degree, right? And you get it after law school, then you take the bar and you pass the bar, and now you're a lawyer, and now you have a job, and now you could go back for your PhD in patent law. You get a PhD in patent law, as just using an example, or employment law. You get a PhD in employment law as a lawyer. So this is the Gleacher Center. And right up here, you should be able to see it right there in the lights. It says the University of Chicago. But what symbol do you see right there? That symbol is the Graham School, is the phoenix, the bird. That's the Graham School symbol. The University of Chicago, Graham School. So a lot of this building is used by the Graham School. That's a separate school, the Graham College, I should say. It's a separate part of the University of Chicago. Across the street here in NBC is Booth. So you have the Booth symbol right there. And right next to Booth, you have the Thunderbird. So is Booth part of the Graham School? So, or is that the overall University of Chicago logo? I thought that was the Graham School logo. Maybe I'm wrong, and it's just the University of Chicago logo. So, anyways, again, what are they doing? You know? And I'm like, I don't understand. And here you have the mall, and let's go over back this way and let's look at the mall. This is a long video. But right up this way is Planet Fitness. So over here is Planet Fitness and Whole Foods. Here is the Egg Harbor Cafe, a breakfast place. And we have Optima Signature. It's a rental residential. And then you have Aston. And I don't know, it's a residential, but is it private or rental? I have no idea. But now leasing. So now leasing means rental. But leasing's a nice way to say it's a upper class way. Leasing, I'm not renting. So leasing is more sophisticated, more upper class. So I'm leasing. I'm not renting an apartment, I'm leasing an apartment. You sound more sophisticated, more debonair, more savvy. And so you have right there, Booth. But again, all these can get invited to the University of Chicago and they can build their sports programs. But you're building fellowship. It's all about building fellowship. And it's something to go to where people can hang out and meet and talk. And so you have pregame and postgame activities, pregame activities, you know, like they do with Alumni Weekend. They have pre and postgame, but that's every weekend. And these people come down and they meet up with their friends and, you know, they go eat somewhere before the game. Or stadiums can have their own restaurants, like the Cubs game. Why don't they invite people down for pregame dinner? Or at Wrigley Field. They have restaurants, pregame dinner. Come down for pregame dinner. Or after the game, have postgame dinner at the restaurants in Wrigley Field or Sox Park. Now the new stadium that Northwestern's building, they can have pre- and post-game dinner in the restaurants. Or come down here, there's Shula's Steakhouse. But there's no sporting event, but you could come down here, a group of you, pre-game, and before you go to the Chicago Bears, Shula's Steakhouse, pre-game dinners or post-game dinners for the Chicago Bears, the Chicago Bulls, the Blackhawks, and so on. And again, down here, and you're having, pre-game dinners, post-game dinners, and it's a time for fellowship. And you have Whole Foods that, one of the stores, but you have Embassy Suites right here. And you have a bunch of hotels. So you have the hospitals and that, and people have people in, and Embassy Suites can work with Northwestern and that, and families can stay here at Embassy Suites. And they get a discount if they're, somebody's in the hospital. So, but right here is this AMC, the bowling alley, and the sports bar, and Asian restaurant. I like this Asian restaurant, and I think Ann Fan was the first one to take me, not to this one, there's one on Michigan Avenue, but it's a Japanese restaurant. You can see the sign here, and so it's NIU, and it's Japanese Fusion Lounge. I like the place. And they used to advertise in the AMC movie theater. And if you had your ticket, you could come and you get a free appetizer. If you order entree, your movie ticket, you leave the movie, you can take your movie ticket and get a free entree. Or before the movie, you can bring over the movie ticket, and before you go to the movie, you can eat here. They gave you a free entree. You have to order dinner and a drink, say. Entree and a drink, they give you a free entree. They give you a free appetizer. They give you a free appetizer, but it's limited to a selection of appetizers. Then you can upgrade. For an upcharge, there are other appetizers you can upgrade to. So for another $5, you can go to, you have the basic ones, and that's what you get. And then you have the call. It's a more premium appetizer. And then you have premium, and that's a more premium. And so for another fee, you get these premium appetizers. And then we have super premium or ultra premium. And for a little bit more, you can get an ultra premium appetizer, like maybe some side of sashimi, toro, fatty tuna. So that's like a super appetizer. But anyways, they used to advertise at the movie theater, and I used to use my ticket and go in here, and I get an appetizer, and I buy an entree and a drink. So, but the whole point is, all this is campus life. So they got the Walgreens here, and this is where the first time I saw the little liquor they put inside the chocolates and everything. And then you got the Target, and you got BMO Harris, the Canadian Bank of Montreal, basically. It's Bank of Montreal. MO means Montreal. They don't put the O in the middle, so you got to put it there yourself. So it is Bank of Montreal, but they just put BMO. But it is Bank of Montreal. And then there's another Canadian bank here in Chicagoland called Harris. Harris Bank is a Canadian bank. So there's a couple Canadian banks. And this is Streeterville. You got the mayor of Streeterville right here. The mayor of Streeterville, based right next to Yoke. Here's Yoke. I very much like Yoke. It's a good breakfast place. And then, what do you have right here? Oh, that's right. University of Chicago Medical Center. At the forefront, University of Chicago. But you think I would have a medical plan I could apply for, or a supplemental medical plan, because I was a student at the University of Chicago, graduate students. Oh, that's right. You can get a supplemental plan that wraps around your existing plan, where you can get blood work and other things that your basically medical plan gives you one physical a year. They can give you a supplemental plan at the University of Chicago that gives you a secondary physical. So you can get a secondary physical at the University of Chicago. It's a supplemental health plan that's offered to graduate students and postgraduate students that gives additional healthcare coverage and testing for graduate students, because you already got your health plan, but now you get another free physical, and you get some other screenings and shots and things that your existing health plan doesn't cover. So it's an ancillary health plan that wraps around that they could have offered me at the University of Chicago when I was going there, or when I was going to Northwestern adult education, and they could have offered me this supplemental health plan that wraps around, and they can have like med subs, medical supplements, A, B, C, D. Now they can offer A, B, C, D, and it can have these different supplements that wrap around your existing health plan to give you additional health insurance coverage. NBC Suites. Planet Fitness. Since they don't have a gym down here, Northwestern and that, right? University of Chicago, Planet Fitness can be the gym for the Gleacher Center. Truly, if you're a student, they have a student thing. If you're a student at University of Chicago or Northwestern, you have a student program here, and it's for faculty and staff as well. It's the gym for Northwestern and University of Chicago. So, again, they can tap into the student population and the faculty's population and the employee population and offer them a gym membership. So again, you have Sheridan and the Lowe's Hotel in that, and again, Planet Fitness can tap in, and Whole Foods and NBC Towers. So I don't know if they have a gym here, but again, let me go straight, and then you have Shula's Steakhouse, but up here is all the Hyatt with the big bar. That's on Upper Wacker. So I'm going to go Lower Wacker, but that's Upper Wacker. There's a Swiss Hotel. You can't see it. And then you got the Trump. And so you have all this here, but there's so much they can do, and I don't understand why they're not doing it. Truly, why they're not doing it. And so that it can create so much better alumni, so much. And then there's Columbia College up here, and and again, they can do this for Columbia College as well, and develop their sports programs and that. And you can go to their art exhibitions. Truly, art exhibitions. Art exhibitions are art competitions where they're rating, like they do with wine and that. They rate the wine, they taste it, and they rate it. And there's this wine competition, tasting competition. Well, it's the same thing with art. And people put it out there, and it gets judged, and they can have a formal competition with professional judges, and then they can have an amateur competition. And you come in and you get a card, or maybe it's an app on your phone, and you rate the wine, or you rate the art piece, the statue or painting, and it's an amateur rating competition. So no one sees what you rated it. It goes in, and then the final top three, first, second, and third place, or you can have the top four or top five get prizes. So you have to be in the top five, and you get recognition and prizes. But they still mention you came in 6th, 7th, or whatever. So they give the list of how people came in, highly rated, not so high rated, but maybe not your crowd. I don't know. You have to figure that out if you came in at the bottom, on the lower half. Where did I, why this crowd, they didn't seem to like my piece. So I'm not connecting with them. Truly, I'm not connecting with them. But maybe I'm not that good. And they just, in general, considered it trash. Truly, in your drawings and sketchings and that. But if you're in the competition, I figure you have to have some skill, right? Because there has to be some standard to get into the competition. So people entering are serious about the competition. So let's throw that out. They have a standard. And everybody in there meets this minimum standard. So all they have to figure out is, why did my piece not resonate with this audience? And this piece is not for this audience. Okay, now I have to figure out where the audience. Maybe you sell it on eBay. Truly, and you auction off your piece of art on eBay. I don't know. But I'm here, all the parks. They can use these at University of Chicago, like Chicago Social. Can get for outdoor stuff, the ice arenas, the ice skating rings, and everything else. They can tap into Northwestern, University of Chicago, Columbia College. They can have softball leagues for Columbia College. These are student leagues, intramural. And they have student leagues, and there's the tennis courts up here and everything. And so all the colleges that are down here, National Louis and that, can have student leagues. It can be a student faculty league, student faculty employee league. Truly, student faculty employee league, if you want to do it that way. So you can have that, or if you have a lot of students and faculty and employees, then you have an employee league, a faculty league, and a student league, separate leagues. And then you can have a grand championship. The winner of the faculty league, the team, or the individual, if it's tennis, say tennis, and there's doubles. That's a team sport in tennis. But say you're doing tennis, the winner of the faculty division plays the winner of the employee division, and then they play the winner of the student division. And they have a round robin, some between the three, or maybe it's the top three that play from each. And so there's 9 players, and they have a tournament and a loser's bracket. Even with 9 players, there's a loser's bracket, and the 2 losers play, and then they are back in, and then they get to play the winners, and if they lose a second time, then they're eliminated. But they can have this for the universities and the continuing education, the adult colleges too. National Louis can have all kinds of certification and degree programs and adult continuing education. So can Columbia. And then they can have all these leagues down here that they can participate in. And they can use the parks, and it generates money for the parks. And Chicago Social can get involved in that. I used to be part of Chicago Social for several years. So museum parking above. And then you have the museums and now that. And again, that's stuff that all the students and faculty and employees can get involved in. It makes life really good being down here. Even the Chicago Bears, they have staff. Wouldn't the staff love to go to the museums and experience here and have a staff league? Chicago Bears staff. Truly, the employees, they have their own softball league. Or maybe there's not enough and they play Columbia College. Maybe they play Columbia College faculty or Columbia College employees. The Chicago Bears are integrated with the employee league. And it's the employees from Columbia College, University of Chicago, Northwestern, and the Chicago Bears staff. And they have a softball league or a kickball league, a tennis league, or whatever. Wouldn't they love that for the Chicago Bear employees and that? Truly, their administration, that they can connect, and they get to make friends, and they get to do these sporting events, and then they have their banquet, and they give the trophy to the winning team, and they have the winners banquet, the banquet, and they recognize a player of the year and so on. But it doesn't take away from professional sports. It engages them. It gives them a love of sports, and it wants them, to be healthy and connected and have friends and live a life, which I don't get, right? So I'm going to go down here by the museum, but they have all these museums. The planetarium has employees. The Shedd Aquarium has employees. So, and again, they can be in the league against the Chicago Bears. Maybe it's not the colleges. Maybe it's the Shedd Aquarium employees and planetarium employees and the Field Museum employees. Truly, employees against the Chicago Bears employees. And they offer, different types of sports. So you have a season for, say, softball, and then a season for kickball or volleyball. Water polo. You could play water polo in Lake Michigan during the summer. Water polo league. Truly, you can have a water polo league. There's some pools that you can do it in, but you can also, in Lake Michigan, an outdoor water polo league in Lake Michigan, playing water polo. I like water polo. I played water polo. So you have to tread water a lot, and then you swim, but I played water polo. And so water polo is awesome. I enjoyed playing it. So again, it's a fun sport. So you can play in Lake Michigan water polo. So you can't see much down here. But again, they can create this camaraderie, this wholesomeness, this purity. And that stops people from having to turn to drugs and, overdoing alcohol and, feeling like they're a loser and a loner and out of connection and don't have friends and life is horrible and so on. So you get the movie like Joaquin Phoenix, where he played the Joker. He's kind of a loser and disconnected and so on. Well, you don't get the Joaquin Phoenix because turning into the Joker and doing these evil things. It's a way to minimize. Here is the sledding hill. So sledding over here and parking for the go sledding, I guess. So anyways, you have the Field Museum employees, the Shedd Aquarium, the planetarium, and they can play against the Chicago Bears staff. And then they have offices in the stadium. Yeah, offices, so I don't know who they rent to. But if they do rent, those people can join the league. Truly, they can join the league. Them and their employees can join the league as well. And that's why you would rent at Soldier Field, right? There's also things connecting your employees and everything into these different existing programs that allow them. They can have movie groups. They can do Meetup, right? They can use Meetup, and they form the groups through Meetup. And you can go dinner groups and wine groups and groups that go to the movie together and so on and so forth through Meetup. So again, I wouldn't be so bad around people if people didn't constantly hurt me. But it seems like they like hurting me. And I think it's a pretty sick thing. But anyways, the last full theater was Fast and the Furious, but I was, overcrowded. And so, I had to leave the movie. I couldn't stay in because I was so uncomfortable. So anyways, down here. And so you have the Adler Planetarium, you have the Field, you have the Shedd, you have the Adler, and you have Northerly Island. I would assume they have staff for Northerly Island, so they would be part of the employee league. So again, bringing good things, good things. And if the more good things, that means, police, deal with people that might have an incident, but there's less, how do you say, negativity. And they're like, okay, I got my ticket and so on and so forth, and life is good. I'll pay my ticket. I'll go to court. And I have to get gas. But just sharing these thoughts and these ideas and, trying to figure out how my life's going to move forward as well. I don't have any friends or anyone to do anything with and so on. And so, again, I'm looking for, I don't want to keep on doing this all the time. I mean, I like doing this, but I like to have some physical friends to hang out with, to talk with, to go to some sporting events with. I like to go to the University of Chicago basketball game or Northwestern basketball game. Besides the Chicago, Bulls, I would like to go to a Northwestern basketball game, but I'm not going to go by myself. Or a University of Chicago basketball game. And there's Chicago State and many other institutes, UIC, the Flames, and they have baseball teams and so on. So again, I don't know. And there's so many people that live down here. And so the positivity. So it's easy to find the bad apples, right? But the point is, you have all this positivity. It's also much easier to reform the bad apples. See, the problem about reforming people when they go wrong is they don't have good people to be around. And that's why you have prison ministry, right? And then you have Celebrate Recovery in prisons, and you have Alcoholics Anonymous and so on. But you're supposed to be around people that are trying to recover and recovering, and then you have your mentors, people that have recovered. And so you can be around these good people. And so that it helps you not to stray again. You made a mistake, you stumbled, and you don't want to stray again. So this helps them from tapping into the community and having friends and people that are doing the right things and encouraging the right things. And so this keeps them from being repeat offenders. And so you only get a small group of people that will end up being repeat offenders. Truly. And then they need help, psychological, and, and I believe there should be therapists, and everybody that goes to prison should go into therapy. Everybody in prison should be in therapy because they have, truly, mental health issues, whether it's kleptomania or whatever it is, anger management or whatever. Everybody in prison juvenile prison, adult prison, should be in therapy. Didn't they teach you that from Good Will Hunting? See, he should have been in therapy, but he wasn't. But once he got into therapy with Robin Williams and that, his life turned around. But they should have been doing that to him in juvie and foster care. And that orphanages should have therapy for their students or their orphans because, helping them cope with the situation. Foster children should be in therapy and helping them cope with the new situation and integrating. But it's family therapy as well because they're part of a foster family. They're part of an orphanage. So you have individual therapy, but you need group therapy, and then you need fellowship activities. Things they can bond over, like the girl in Queen's Gambit. She was in a orphanage, and she bonded with this other girl who was a black girl in the orphanage. And, she taught her some things and how to overcome challenges, and they became friends, and she got into the chess club. And the janitor there, who was an employee, helped her learn chess and got her involved in chess and got her to find a focus and a path and a purpose in life, purpose-driven life, Rick Warren. So the janitor helped her and mentored her, and they played together, and he'd teach her, and then she got books and so on. And then she was able to find one friend in the orphanage, and it was this black girl, and she bonded with her, and they had these things in common. But they should have been in therapy, individual and group, like all the tailgaters. They need serious therapy. They're sick in the head. Tailgaters are sick individuals. And so the court should order therapy for them. Truly. It's one thing to get a parking ticket and maybe a speeding ticket, but when you're doing aggravated driving, the court, not only do you have a ticket, you have to go to therapy. And the therapist has to sign off that you have emerged from the program, and you stay in the program until you prove that you're better. So for tailgating that, so you're automatically forced into therapy. And if not, then you go to jail and you're in therapy at jail. So you do it outpatient and you're court ordered, or you go to jail and you do it inpatient. You get your choice. But you're a very sick person and you need help. Truly, all the tailgaters are very sick people. Just like the shaking leg people. They're very sick people. They need therapy. They need help. They can't control themselves. They have impulse problems. I don't have impulse problems. I have loneliness. I can assess myself inside and out. I know exactly where I am and what I do. But, hey, you can mess with things, and then it's not them, it's you. They're not sick. You're the sick person for messing with their mind. You're the sick person. So, say if somebody was playing mind games and had that ability, they're the sick people. They're very sick people. Dr. Phil should force them into therapy. They should be arrested and forced into outpatient or inpatient therapy. Truly, as they say at the United Nations, it's a threat to mankind. And so you have to get them to repent and change. They're very sick people. The sickest of people. They're unbelievably sick individuals. They're not researchers. They're Joseph Mengele people. They're extremely sick people. And they have to be forced into therapy. So they can go outpatient, and if they don't show, they're now a warrant for their arrest, and they have to go inpatient because they're very sick people.